Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about empowerment. Yes, ooh, this is a strong word, so why not think about it? I have Alexandra here who's going to help us think about this in another way to hopefully leave you all feeling a little bit more empowered. So, Alexandra, thank you so much for coming on to my show, giving me your time and perspective. Let's go ahead and dive right in. When you hear the word empowerment, what does that make you think about?
It makes me think about something now that a word I don't use. I'm not using the word empowerment anymore because and I'll tell you this is why, because I've been in this business of personal development for about 28 years. I realized that empowerment was really talking about, if you look at the definition of the word, we're talking about other people empowering other people, or
Mm-hmm.
you trying to control your life. So that
Mm-hmm.
all sounds good on the surface, but what that actually means is it's all on the outside. Now, when
Yeah.
I teach personal development, I teach how you can change your life from the inside out. So I now use the word empowerment. So IN empowerment as opposed to empowerment. Now, that to me empowers the whole philosophy of empowerment because now you're in control of your inner thoughts, your inner energy, and then that outwardly changes your life. So when I think of empowerment now, I kind of cross out the E and the M and stick in an I and N because that to me, and all the research I've done and the thousands of people I've coached, the only sort of lasting change you can get is the inside out.
Absolutely.
We try and wait for other things to change externally. We try and wait for people to change who they are externally instead of us actually doing the work inside. If you can do the internal work, and I can tell you all about how I do that because it's sort of three areas. But when you do the internal work, then everything changes on the outside anyway. You change
Oh,
internally, and then everything changes to meet you where you are
abs
now at.
yeah, absolutely. People don't realize it starts all with the inner work. And I love your philosophy and how you switched it up because let's be honest, once we start working on the inside, everything on the outside will start to have an effect because it's the inside. You have to
Right.
the way we think starts from the inside. The way that we see
Mm,
life starts with the inside. So the more
yeah,
inner work that we do and putting that in, replacing that in, we
yeah,
start to really acknowledge how much we can control our lives and how we can really
exactly.
see the things because we have to ask ourselves every day this question: what can I have? What do I have really control of right now? Can you
Mm,
really change your environment? Not really, not really, not in the moment of a second. If you can't do it in like
right,
15 seconds, you really can't do anything about it. And that's what I
right.
realized. Like if you can't do it within 2 to 15 seconds, then that means you can't do it. But what you can do in that 2 to 15 minutes, I mean that 15 seconds to 2 minutes,
Mm,
is change your perspective. You can change your perspective. You can take that pause. It only takes 10 seconds to pause. You know what I mean? It only takes a
right.
few seconds in your life to really just pause, breathe, rationalize, and respond with that question. And once you're done rationalizing, you know what I mean? But people
Of
don't
course.
realize that.
No, they
And why
don't.
do
And I
you?
think, well, yeah, I mean, just to sort of add to what you just said, I mean, we're very reactionary. So
Yeah.
whatever's happening to us, we're like, bam. We're
Yeah.
either, I think it's kind of flight, fright, or sort of freeze, isn't it? We
Yeah.
either sort of run away or we totally have a knee-jerk reaction, and it's all to do with our emotions. And this is what I want to just sort of add to all of the sort of empowerment philosophy, if you will,
Yeah.
is we don't really realize how powerful our emotions are. And when you learn to harness those emotions, then you really get to be changing things very quickly. And in a second, like you say, that 15 seconds, you can absolutely change things. And when you
Exactly.
can do that, and it's just a bit of practice, it doesn't take
Yeah.
ton, you know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this. You can do this quite easily. It's just practice and mindfulness.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can do that straight away, and then you'll be absolutely astounded, and I'm sure you've had this too, when you've decided to react in a different way, a more empowered way,
Yeah.
the other person or the situation just absolutely changes, like immediately. They're like, what? So it's really,
Yes.
you can play with it. It's a fun thing to do. And I get my clients to do that in meetings and teams to do that together with each other. And it's a very powerful process because you can start sort of learning from each other very, very quickly and helping each other. Collaborate in that empowered way. And I think if you've got friends or family members or teams or colleagues that you work with, anybody you interact with, or your own team that you have to lead, and you come from an empowered place and they learning from you as they should, any good relationship is a two-way street, then you can help each other. And I think when you sort of pass that on, I think what women are really good at doing is sharing and nurturing other people. So when you can do that in an empowered way, you can change your family, you can change all your relationships, you can change your career, you can change your success levels. So it all starts there, deciding that you want to become empowered, using your
Absolutely.
energy, using your emotions in a different way, making more powerful decisions.
Hmm.
Then everything can change for you. And it unlocks all sorts of things. It really is quite breathtaking in how powerful it is.
Yeah, people don't realize that it's kind of like the key to life. You know what I mean? It really is the key to life. People want to know, how do I really get to that point? Well, let's start with that inner work because when you
You
start with
can't
that,
avoid it. It
you
always
can't.
comes back round to it.
It does. It honestly does. In one way or another, it
Mm,
comes around. And I think it comes around so softly at first, where people dismiss it, where they say, like, and then
mm,
and you always hear the phrase, I keep on hearing people always tell me this, or this has always been said to me. Like, and it's always
right.
like, why don't you take that as a clue? Maybe that's a clue. That's maybe some inner work that you need to do. You know what I mean? That's an
Yeah.
inner process that you need. If somebody says,
Mm,
oh, you are the drama, you are the problem. Okay. And everywhere you go, it follows you. Well, maybe you need to do the inner work to find out what are you really hiding? What are we
mm,
avoiding? Because we are so quick
mm,
to point out other people, oh, you're avoiding this, you need to clean up this, you need to do this, this, and this. But it's like, what are you doing to clean yourself up? Like,
mm,
how are you acknowledging that you have a hot mess in your heart, you have a hot mess in your mind, and it's oozing out of you too. And people don't realize that. So it's like, my question is to you, how can people start going forward and implementing this instead of just
love this
listening?
question. Love this question. What I do, it's three
Yeah.
steps. And it's three things to focus on in those steps. So basically, the first thing you have to do, and this is what you just hit the nail on the head with that, which is self-awareness. If you're
Okay.
not aware, self-aware, then and just to define what that means is just to understand how you're coming across and how you're thinking. So aware of oneself, right? What kind of personality you are, what kind of reactions you give off most of the time, people's feedback to you. Are you aware of yourself and how you're behaving? So
Yeah.
self-awareness and how powerful you are, let's not forget that. I think that's got to be top of the tree. If people forget one thing, it's how powerful they actually are. We're usually very aware of our weaknesses and very aware of our nuances, but we're not usually, and especially women, men not so much have a problem with this, but women have a problem with standing out and being powerful authentically, in the sense that they're scared to do it because we like to be people pleasers. We like
Yeah.
to hide sometimes, like you say, well, we can hide instead of shining our light. And I think when we've got to make a decision in that self-awareness is to, okay, I'm aware of this, that, and the other, but what power do I actually have? And to really kind of feel how innately powerful you are authentically. You don't have to go off and get a degree at MIT to be powerful. You can be powerful making your breakfast in the morning, going out there and doing your thing in any moment of any day. So self-awareness is number one. Number two, then it all sort of boils down to self-esteem. So
Yes.
it's how you feel about yourself, how you like yourself, how you love yourself. We especially women, again, we tend to put other people first, especially if we've got a family. We tend to put our children first, our husband, our partner, whatever first, even the dog, the cat, the
Yeah.
gerbil,
The
they come
plant.
first. The plants. Exactly. So we tend to put ourselves last. And if we do put ourselves first in any shape or form, we feel guilty about it. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
double-edged sword. We can't go forward for moving backwards. So
Yeah.
if you have a low self-esteem, then that's the work you've got to do, is to build up your self-esteem. And self-esteem can be lost because we're born with good self-esteem. There's nothing wrong with us when we're born in that sense. We tend to lose self-esteem through the influences we have, our personality types as well, that are
Yeah.
influences we have, and the things we have to deal with in life can chip away at our self-esteem. If we just have one horrible boss, for example, that can destroy your self-esteem. And I've worked with a
Yeah.
lot of people who've had terrible bosses and have had to get over that and build up their self-esteem. So if you can work on building up your self-esteem, self-love, self-care, that's a really powerful thing to do anyway. But as part of this three sort of step process, it's going to be phenomenal. So one, self-awareness; two, build up your self-esteem; and three, self-management.
Mhm.
Self-management, because a lot of the time, and we were sort of talking about knee-jerk reactions and just coming out with our usual way that we would deal with whatever, a difficult situation, for example. Because a lot of people say, if you want to know how somebody really is, then see them in a crisis. I think that's true to a certain extent, but because a lot of the time people are very fear driven or fearful, you don't always see truly who they are. It's afterwards you see who they are. But with
Yeah.
self-management, what we're talking about here is any given situation for you to, like you say, cut the drama, to think, I was just about to say that, or I was just about to feel bad about that, I was just about to feel my feelings were going to be hurt, or I was about to feel scared, or I was about to feel horrified, or I was about to feel judgmental, or I was
Yeah.
about to, and just to be catching yourself in the moment. So you ground yourself, you ground your emotions, you figure out, okay, that negative emotion was about to just blurt out, and I don't want that to happen because it doesn't serve me, because I'm
Yeah.
building my self-esteem. I'm only doing things now that serve me in a self-full way, not in a selfish way. And I'm going to take care of myself. So if I react like that, it's negative to me, it's negative to the situation, it's not helping. So we take a second to go, okay, what would I prefer to do? And this is where you become really powerful in action. This is power, empowered action, is for you to take that moment and say, okay, the feeling is I'm feeling hurt, or I'm feeling jealous. I want to change that emotion. And I'd rather feel what? I'd rather feel calm. I'd rather feel grounded. I'd rather feel happy. I'd rather feel certain. And you can transmute, because it's all energy. We're all energy. Everything's energy. So an emotion is just an energy showing itself. So we have the power to, in any given moment, change that energy. So we can go from feeling, and it does sound like I'm sort of skating over this, but when you try it for yourself, you'll see that it is very possible. So, for example,
Absolutely.
if someone has just insulted you, instead of going "oi" and giving them what for back, or taking them down in some way with verbally, you can
Yeah.
go, that's interesting. How do I feel about that? Oh, I'm feeling a bit self-conscious. I don't want to feel self-conscious, so I'm going to feel empowered instead. So let me feel empowered. And I feel empowered because I feel relaxed, I feel confident, and I'm just going to detach from that situation and move on.
Mhm.
So detachment is a very powerful thing. We don't have time to go through talking about that. But if you have an emotion that you don't like, or a situation that's happening to you that you don't like, the self-management part of it can easily just detach. You can start to say, well, okay, I don't want that, and just refuse it, as you would refuse a dish or meal that you don't
Yeah.
like. You go, no, thank you, it's not for me. So when
Yeah.
you learn to say, no, thank you, it's not for me, because I'm building on my self esteem and I want to feel good, then you become very, very empowered. And people then, I mean, you're teaching people how to treat you then. That's how powerful this
Absolutely.
becomes. So people start
Yeah.
to treat you differently because they see that you have very strong boundaries, you've got powerful self esteem, you're feeling confident, and you're authentic energy. This isn't faking anything, this is just authentic energy. And believe me, when
Absolutely.
you try even this on the slightest situation, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but you try it out just in your everyday processing of the world and conversations, then you will see immediately how different your life can be and how better you feel for it.
Absolutely, because it's like you said, you're taking your power back. You're acknowledging those emotions, and
Yeah.
once you are able to gravitate from sadness to ha from joy to, you know what I mean, in that blink of an eye, it does
Needing
change
nobody
you.
else.
Needing exactly that self-validation, that self-awareness, that own
Yeah.
self-work, then when you really have the time, you can have that moment of silence that you may have when you're reading a book, drinking coffee, or whatever, and wherever time that is that you can resonate back and be like, you know what, why was I sad at that moment? Because
Mm.
there's then that you can realize deeper, you know what, there's inner healing that you still need to look for. There's inner something inner within you that's still causing you to be triggered, because nothing should trigger you. Nothing in this world should trigger you.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Nothing. So that's why I love the fact that you have the choice and the power to
Yeah.
choose joy, because you do. But you also have to validate your emotions are there for a reason, to remind you or to warn you or to just help you in any way, to be like, you know
It's
what?
feedback.
We need to,
Yeah.
yeah, we need to still work on this, Mitzi. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I shouldn't feel angered when somebody brings this to me, but at the same time, I know I need to heal this part of me so that one day when they bring it to me, I don't need to force myself to pause, rationalize, and choose joy. It would just be like, oh, okay, like nothing. It's like
Mm.
nothing, you know? So when you
Yeah.
tie that all in together, not only are you doing yourself a service, you're doing the rest of the world a service, because you
Totally.
deserve
Mm.
love, you deserve peace, you deserve trust, and it all starts within yourself. We lose this at a childhood with trauma, or we lose this in adulthood with pain and trauma that comes to us. Either way, whatever type of trauma, fill in the blank, you choose, it affects us. So we have to start to heal that part of us that nobody else in the
Mm.
external world can do. A seed cannot grow outside in air expecting the wind and the sun to fertilize it and to grow. No, no. Sometimes the work is done in silence. Sometimes the work is done underground when nobody knows it's happening.
It's the
And that's that
reflection
in that
process.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's that moment when we pause and reflect. So that's why I
Mm.
love you speaking this, because that's something I understand and I'm working on. So everything that you said is like, yep, I get you.
Wonderful.
Boom, 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 boom. We
Yeah.
need this. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Because I believe it. I've seen it. I can be proof that it works, because it does. And it's
Mm.
people reflect on and they're like, you know what? If Mitzi can do this, if Alexandra can do this, then why can't I do this?
Absolutely
You know what I
right.
mean? So that's why it's beautiful that we're
Totally.
having this conversation, because it makes real situations more relatable, and it makes
Mm.
life much more easier to manage. You know what I mean? We
Oh,
need
and
to
we want
manage life
easier.
in such a way, right? Let's do it together. Oh my goodness. So what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with? Unfortunately, time is catching up to us.
Oh my
But
goodness,
what
it's
can
gone
be,
fast.
I know, right? What can be some lasting words though?
I think we could talk for a long, long time, Mitzi. Yeah, I think,
Absolutely.
if I'm ever trying to, I've got a short period of time, if I'm speaking somewhere or whatever, and I try and get across something very, very sort of succinctly, it is absolutely to believe in oneself
Yeah.
more, like you would a best friend. If you
Yeah.
treat yourself like a best friend with all that love, unconditional love, and non-judgmental
Hmm.
energy, and just total belief in oneself, then anything is possible. That opens up your
Absolutely.
whole world. So if you treat yourself like a best friend, that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, I know. It goes back to empowerment, because we are so quick to help somebody who needs it, and we are so quick to defend somebody who's weak, and we feel that empowerment build within us,
Mm.
and it reflects out because we're quick to protect and defend and be there for somebody, but we're not there for ourselves when we need it, you know? So
Oh,
that's a great
not
point
enough.
to remind ourselves, you
Mm.
know. You need to step into that power. You need to be able to do that. Oh my goodness. You're right, Alexandra. We can literally keep talking about this and so much stuff. Oh, it's ridiculous. Sadly to say, that's all the time that we have. But if you'd like to know more about Alexandra and all that she has to offer the world, because she has a lot of great content, go check her out. I have her information on my website. You can find her lovely photo just right there, right under, and so that you can continue on thinking. So, with that being said,